So Kind was started actually in the back of a caravan when we were traveling outback New South Wales, and me and my family. My two co-founders were in Sydney.
Hello, welcome, Budri Gamawara from the Gadigal lands here in Sydney. It's time for Startup 360, your weekly guide to founder fun, more than founder mode. I'm Simon Thompson, editor of startupdaily.net.
And I am Angela Campbell, CEO of Fish Burners.
Oh, we got the first part right, remembering our names. Before we go any further, I do want to say Startup 360 is supported by Vanta, helping startups unlock market opportunities through automated compliance. Thanks to them. We've got a cool show today, a guest down from Byron Bay, somewhere where I'd love to be, or used to be actually, in a past life.
Really?
And the Byron Writers Festival, I think, is on this weekend.
Wow.
Down at Bangalore, which is where Dave Berner from Kinde is from.
Did you look at that?
And for 10x today, a ghost of Fish Burners past is coming in. Murray Herbst from UTS Startups.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And of course, Startup Muster, which is on right now. So I do want a quick plug for that. I did a story on it this week on startupdaily.net. Go to startupmaster.com, I think it is. I probably should have done my research on that bit. But Google Startup Muster or go to startupdaily.net and click on the link there. Fill out the report. They need your answers on the Australian startup ecosystem by August the 18th. Big, phenomenal report. It's been going for 12 years now. Took a little bit of break through COVID, but this will be number 3 of the revised version, and it is the best and most authoritative guide to what's going on in this country and what the startup system needs. You know, it's your chance to have your say about, this is what I'm thinking about, this is what's bothering me, these are my plans, all of that. So we'll talk to Murray a little bit about that and, of course, his life, because we're all about lifting the lid and seeing what makes people tick. How has your week been?
My week has been good. I was just saying before, I've been doing some very sexy tasks of database cleaning, and I'm just cleaning all sorts of things. I'm cleaning spaces, I'm cleaning databases. So it's been a bit of a rager.
Bleaching your database. Just getting the mold off it.
Sterilizing.
All of that. Oh, one thing I do have to mention, Monday, Best in Tech finalists are going to be announced. Tune in, startupdaily.net. We've got 14 categories. There'll be 4 finalists into those. So what's that mean? 28, 56 finalists all up. We'll be announcing those on Monday. I know you've been helping with some of the judging. Oh my gosh, the entries are good, aren't they?
They're so good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to be a hard choice.
As I put them all together for our judging panels, I'm going, oh yeah, they're good. Oh yeah, they're good. They're good too. So I didn't envy anyone. That feeling of, it was a really tough decision. Absolutely. So many good startups, so many good people here in the Australian startup ecosystem. But yeah, let's do it. Let's get Dave Berner in from Kinde. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Startup 360. We are joined with the incredible David Berner. Welcome, David.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Co-founder of Kinde, of course. Welcome to Sydney, I guess, down from Byron Bay.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Came down yesterday.
The big smoke.
The big smoke, yeah. I was going to start off with a silly question, but I'll start off with a good one maybe.
Well, we want all of them, the silly and the good ones.
I'll take a silly.
Yeah. Let's start off with...
It's great to have the FIFA work in for Startup 360.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey, and maybe a little bit about Kinde as well.
Sure. So I got into coding probably when I was about 15 years old. Mostly I think they were called webmasters back then, and essentially would do everything from design to front end to the whole thing. My background is in music and bands. I used to sing in aggressive metal and punk and that kind of type of band, and we couldn't afford a web designer, so I was using, Alta Vista or whatever the search engine of the time was to teach myself how to code. I think I had Angel Fire and all those kind of classic hosting providers from back then. And at that point, just kind of fell in love with how you could share something globally. You'd suddenly get people from the US reaching out because they'd heard your song or whatever it was, which was impossible before that. And it seemed to be this great way of removing barriers between borders. So that's how I got into tech, I guess.
So you had this precursor with the band of what was Napster, or what were you doing at the time? Were you just putting the files up on a website and people were finding it?
So at the time it was building a website for
Yeah.
us, and then lots of MySpace customizations. I was kind of
MySpace, the
in
good
that
old
way.
days.
Yeah. So lots of MySpace tutorials and learning how to tweak your profiles when the internet just didn't look the same, because every site actually looked different at that point, for better or for worse. I kind of liked the craziness of the web back then. At least it was interesting, and you'd get this blast of music that someone had put on their profile as soon as you hit it. Like, there was just no rules. I feel like it has got a little bit more formulaic these days.
Yes, it's all Canva and sort of WordPress templates nowadays, as opposed to having to learn HTML or XML to get it up.
Yeah, it's definitely lost some of the fun factor, I think.
So the music thing, I want to delve into that.
Sure.
And I appreciate your time. You're probably in mourning for Ozzy Osbourne right now. Tell us about the music and how that you got into that and why you chose that, because not everyone likes, hardcore or heavy metal. And did you get tickets to AC/DC, most importantly?
I didn't.
Oh, bugger.
I guess my journey is, I always loved going to see live music, and then thought I could be a front man. Couldn't really sing, so went more into this.
That's never stopped
the
anyone
shout.
in
Well,
the
yeah,
genre.
exactly. That was my rationale at the time, and I really loved the performance side of it and the audience. And strangely, I'm quite a chilled guy generally, and so people sometimes find it hard because I'd be like climbing up lighting riggings, and I mean, this is like prime real estate in here. But then afterwards, I just want to go and like slink in a hole somewhere and not talk to anybody to kind of decompress afterwards. And that kind of, again, it was just that love of sort of sharing something with people and creating something, which I suppose kind of fell into that web side of things. But the reality is, even less bands make it than startups do. So, I mean, I suppose I've just moved to something, hedged my bet slightly by moving, and we never really played any particularly big shows or anything. We'd often play to empty rooms, and you'd be making enough money to pay for petrol to get to the next venue, if you're lucky, from t-shirt sales. And now labels are even trying to take your t-shirt sale money as well. So that avenue seems to be getting less and less.
Well, you do live in the home of Grinspoon, which is now, nearly 30 years ago. I think when Phil Jamison, the team from the uni up there, put that band together.
Yeah, I didn't know them before I moved up there, actually. And one of my friends up there introduced me to them. They did play a show recently that I went to at the local bowling club in
the
Bangalore. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
They had a pretty good turnout. There's actually a really good punk rock scene there now. I went to a DIY show maybe 2 months ago there, and you wouldn't know it was a bowls club.
It's pretty lively there. Bangalore is the centre of the universe up there, and it has the best, we were talking about this before, the best billy cart derby, because the main street kind of runs gently down the hill, so they set it up and everyone builds their homemade billy carts and has this great cracking day.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my kids to enter with me next year. That's the goal, if I can get
Excellent.
them to come down.
Well, how old are they?
9, 6 and 2. I reckon the 2-year-old's most keen to go down. He's definitely...
Yeah, he'd want a pilot.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Like a helmet on.
So I do want to talk about this experience of being a regional founder. What's it like? Because I know you've got members of your team all over the place, here in Sydney, down in Melbourne.
Yep.
So how do you manage that aspect of being a startup founder?
So Kind was started actually in the back of a caravan when we were traveling outback New South Wales, and me and my family. My 2 co-founders were in Sydney, but a lot of the initial code was effectively written, outback New South Wales. And as we were traveling around, came across Bangalore. We'd been through Byron a few times, but kind of fell in love with it and decided to stop there. And we did worry at first, like maybe this is going to be problematic, especially if we decided we would take on an office space or anything like that. But I think the reality is now, to get to that kind of global talent pool, you are quite restricted, even if you are in Sydney. Like, there are great developers and great marketers in Melbourne and Adelaide and all over the place. We have two people in the UK so that we can do round-the-clock development, which is, I mean, that's game-changing, right? You get stuck on a bug at the end of the day, and instead of having to stay up all night to do it, you can just hand it over to one of the UK guys to finish up overnight, and it's hopefully fixed for you in the morning. I mean, usually, because they're definitely smarter than I am.
Well, we should go back to Magella's original question. Just tell us a little bit more about Kind.
Yeah, so Kind, I always hate the kind of, it's X for Y, but it seems to be the way that people understand things. So we often get likened to Shopify for SaaS businesses. So where if you're a t-shirt company, Shopify will give you your shop front and your login and the ability to transact. We do the same for subscription businesses. So they can authenticate, they can set up multi-tenancy and organizations and take payments and all the boring bits that basically isn't their idea.
Great. I'm really fascinated about, I love talking to founders because I feel like there's never one size fits all. And I think your story, obviously coming from music into tech and having that self-driven experience, I'm interested to know, what do you feel the role of creativity plays in building a tech company?
Yeah, I think it's quite high. I think you need a balance, I guess, of the people that are going to, like the big picture thinkers, and then people that can really double down on the detail. We've got a good mix. So our co-founding team, we've actually got 2 technical co-founders, which is a little bit unorthodox, possibly made it easier to raise. I think usually they hope for 1 and maybe 2 is like a blessing somewhere, or that there'll be more arguments, I'm not sure. So we have Ross, who's definitely like the big picture thinker, real creative. Ev, who's super technical, deep back end, and then I kind of float somewhere in the middle, kind of between the two, and we make those 3 worlds combine. And I think we're all creative in our own way. I mean, you have to work out creatively how you're going to build this huge platform with the smallest possible team. So you have to make creative shortcuts in order to do that. How's your database going to scale? How's the server going to stand up when suddenly one of the companies that you've onboarded grows from 0 to 6 million users overnight, and you can feel all your servers rattling, and then Ev's coming up with a creative solution for how we quickly scale it out to accommodate that. So I don't think it's necessarily creativity in the classic design sense, or like visual design sense.
But do you have a sense that it's like a band? So there is a rhythm section who keeps everyone on time. And then, there's maybe some flashy guy doing sort of the guitar solo, and of course the front man and the singing. Is a startup like that?
I like that analogy for sure. I think, you've definitely, if your infrastructure goes down, which I guess is your rhythm section, then it actually doesn't matter how good your singer is or how pretty the front end is. Like if the drummer's just drumming to his own tune somewhere. So I can definitely see that. The other side of it is how, especially from a founder perspective, how tightly knit you are, and you do all have to be in sync, and you are riffing and coming up with ideas and strategizing, and not every song's a hit, there are going to be ones that miss the mark, and you have to be okay with that, and maybe they don't make it to the album. That's a whole analogy. It's just, I'm going to have to write something on that. I like it.
You keep going. Well, I'm going to ask you, do you think it's more jazz, though, than sort of standard 4/4 rock?
Probably depends what you're building. I've definitely seen in the rise of AI, there's been a lot more kind of cookie cutter, like, I'm going to build the new Netflix. And then that's probably more 4/4 because you're trying to take what they've done. I think the people that are doing something interesting are going for jazz.
Speaking of co-founders, I mean, you're definitely, technical co-founders, I should say, definitely a prized currency in the startup ecosystem. I'm interested to know, what do you think separates a good technical co-founder from a bad technical co-founder, and any red flags that non-technical folk should look out for?
I mean, I'm very fortunate in that I knew the other technical co-founder for quite a long time, and we built quite a few bits and bobs together on the side before starting Kinde, so we had already built up that trust. I imagine you'd be in a tricky position being non-technical and then looking for a technical co-founder, which I imagine is kind of the avenue that you're looking down. I've got a friend of mine who's kicking off a startup who's non-technical at the moment, and he's asked me to interview his technical co-founders for him and initial technical engineers. So ideally, if you can tap into somebody else, then that will definitely help. The things that I was looking for on his behalf when carrying those out was, if somebody tells me that they can do everything, that's an immediate red flag, because it's just not, like if you're looking at their list of skills and it just has every single language, technology all the way down, that's just not a reality. I mean, we have 2 technical co-founders at Kinde, and we still probably cover 50% of the stuff that you would actually need between us. It's not even, we still need that strong team around us to fill the gaps that we have. And the ability to know what those gaps are, that's somebody that's going to do well, because then when you're hiring, you know who you need to hire. So I'd definitely be wary of somebody that says they can do everything. The other was another chap that I interviewed on his behalf who I thought I was interviewing for as a founding engineer role. And his first comment was, I'm actually looking for more of a CTO position. This was a chap who was quite fresh out of uni, a few jobs, but no team leading experience or I guess anything kind of at scale. But I interviewed him like a CTO. And at the end of it, he did say, okay, well, I feel like I've maybe got a lot to learn here. But even that was great to see it. At least that was recognized there and not like, oh, this guy's just roasting me for no reason, which hopefully I didn't come across that way.
I'm also just trying to figure out what size were you at the time, because it's great to be a C-suite, but you actually have to have some people in the team to manage rather than just the title.
And that was part of it as well. I mean, this is super early stages, like 3 or 4 people in this company. He had no one to manage at that point. And so part of my question is, well, what's going to happen when you do grow and suddenly you realize you need somebody else to take your role? You're going to step down and get somebody in that's more senior. It just creates this whole awkward position. Although one of the things we did at Kind was hire nobody into any C-level positions. We've got a very flat structure. We don't have any team leads. Everyone has an equal voice and can call me out on my nonsense. So yeah.
Well, that leads to what I want to pick up on, going with the band analogy still.
Okay.
Plenty of great bands, hello Silverchair, end up falling apart and they don't speak to each other again. There are issues. So you guys are 4 years down the track and you're talking about this flat structure. How do you make sure that you do stay in sync, that you're in the same direction and you maintain that open, honest aspect rather than going... so it doesn't become a creative differences exercise.
Yeah. So we have a Monday morning founder check-in. It's 45 minutes every Monday. It's the only meeting I refuse to miss because it's important that we are all on the same page, as you say, because if our team feel like we're not aligned, then that's just going to create issues all over the shop. We'll make a list of what we want to raise or what we want to bring to that meeting and run through, like, at the first point, just a high level, these are the things that we each want to talk about, and then agree on what the one is that's, I guess, the standout that we really need to cover, or the thing that we need to discuss. We've always had very honest and open conversations from day one, even down to what titles we were going to have, which I actually thought was a bit of a waste of time. But my co-founder was pretty insistent, and I thank God he did, because it now means we don't have any of those difficult conversations now. We've got very clear role separation, really high trust, and it avoids people stepping on each other's toes. So I think trying to have those difficult conversations up front right at the start sets the tone for how the rest of the business is going to grow.
The art of building a good team is, culture, it's a mix of people, it's all those sorts of things. What is the difference between, or is there a difference between building a good team, like a good regular team, and building a good tech team? What's the difference, or what's in your experience, how do they kind of differ, or how does that really fit together?
How do you mean the difference between a good team and a tech team?
Yeah,
as in,
I suppose, is there any nuances
between
between that experience? I mean, I suppose, talking in the ecosystem in general, you can expect a certain type of person generally to be a developer. In my understanding, that would probably be a very different type of culture in that team versus your regular team. So
yep.
I suppose, is that a nuanced experience in your time?
Our engineers, the hardcore sort of metal guys.
Got this band theme going.
You're essentially asking the difference between hiring the engineering side and the non-technical side?
And maybe after as well. I mean, after the hiring process,
yep.
How are you making sure that you're having a happy, healthy team?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were very fortunate, I suppose, in that all the founders had been in the industry for quite a while. As I say, I started at 15, I'm 40 something now. So 25, 27 years, something like that. So I'd worked with a lot of really great people over that time and had the luxury of being able to handpick the people that I then wanted to go and work with afterwards. So I feel bad if you didn't make the cut. And likewise for our other two co-founders as well. Like between us, we're all so very experienced. And so that initial founding team, we were very lucky in that, not that they'd necessarily worked together before, but you kind of had an idea of which personalities and character traits would complement each other. Not necessarily the same, like you want them always to be additive to each other. So we'll have some really strong generalists and then some really strong specialists, and the kind of combination of those skill sets will result in a team that can build quickly, but then you've still got that finesse when it comes to code review and ensuring that the execution is spot on. I mean, especially effectively we are a security company, so everything that goes out the door, we need to make sure does have that diligence to it.
You've got 3 kids. So 2029, you're going to have your first teenager. And then you'll be in a world of pain for about the next 10 years.
Yeah.
What are the lessons that you want to pass on to your kids about what you do as a worker, as a founder? What are the messages that you want them to absorb about what Dad does?
It's so interesting, and how it's actually changed probably from when we started. And that a lot of that is because of AI. Because initially I was thinking, well, this is pretty easy. I'll just teach them all to code. Engineers are in demand. Everyone always needs a technical co-founder. Whether that still looks the same in 2029 and beyond, I'm not sure. So the skills that I really want them to learn are, and always have, to be fair, is around kind of empathy and being able to communicate with people and actually look someone in the eye when you speak to them, and not. They all go to, what my 2-year-old doesn't. My older 2 go to a Steiner school, which for people that don't know is very low tech. So there's no screens. Everything's still like blackboards and chalk. And I think they introduce laptops and things at high school, but it keeps children kind of in that.
It's much more focused on play too earlier on, rather than sort of getting straight into core curriculum. So
we actually do, like, there's no screen time at home. Like they might watch the odd movie, but it'll be like a classic. It won't be watching, I don't know, Paw Patrol back to back, or giving them an iPhone to placate them at the dinner table. I want them to be able to sit at the dinner table with adults and engage in conversation and not be an afterthought that's kind of shoved in the corner. And that's no like disrespect to people that do, but I feel like working in tech, you can see the dangers of it firsthand. So it was my wife that pushed for it initially. And I was like, but are they going to miss out by not getting access to this tech from day one? And then I think, my parents can pick up an iPhone and use it now. Like, they're going to be fine when they're teenagers, just because they're making it easier and easier. They're designing it to be addictive. I don't think they're going to have any issues by pushing it back a few years. And I truly believe those soft skills are more important. And interestingly, my 9-year-old, she was doing her first presentation for this house that she'd built. So the school project over the holidays was you had to build a house and then bring it in like a model one. So she built this one out of clay, and she pushed all the stones into it, and then has to deliver this presentation. She's like, I just don't know what I'm going to say. And I said, tell them all the bits that sucked. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, remember when the wall fell down? And she burst into laughter. And she's like, yeah, because I pushed the stones too hard and like the back of the wall came off. And I was like, that people want to learn from those mistakes. They can empathize with that human side with you. And then she was like, and what about when I put too much glue on the roof and there was, my thatched roof was a mess? I was like, yeah, people will get that. And the finished result looks awesome, but they want to know the mistakes that you made along the way to get there. And I didn't really put it together, I suppose, who you just asked that question, but I feel like those are the sort of things I want them to be able to be confident when they stand up there, embrace their mistakes and not be scared.
Good founder lesson too.
Yeah, next question was going to say, I mean, your experience being a parent, how has that influenced the way, you lead your startup and the work with the people that you work with?
Oh, big question.
Yeah, we're not assuming that Ross is the sort of the 2-year-old in this.
No, that's definitely me, the impulsive one, I'd say. So it probably works both ways, I guess. Like, you learn lessons and like I've learned from having a team that is smarter than me around me, that I can learn so much from them. And I learned from my kids all the time, like the things that they're interested in. I've definitely focused more over the last few years on play, which I wouldn't have probably done beforehand. So just whether it's sitting down and building Lego with them or helping out, like building the stone house, which, I mean, it was a school project, but you're still kind of building something cool. Whether it's Connect 4 or Uno or 6-second scribbles or these games that we play together and fostering that creativity, I think it's important to have those things also, especially in a fully remote team, to still be able to have fun. Like one of our values is stay foolish. We've had that from day one. And it might just be, we'll do silly little questions at the end of our Friday all hands, where would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands? Or one of our colleagues was moving over to the UK, so we did a quiz on a bunch of stuff about the UK to kind of prep him for it, just some far out questions, which I won, obviously. So, yeah.
I wanted to go back a couple of years. You had this extraordinary seed round of $10.6 million. Blackbird was in there, Felicis Ventures out of California. I think Skip Capital was in there, Kim Jackson's investment firm. What was that moment like for you? I know you're not the most focused person on the money in the organisation, but that must have felt pretty huge.
It was definitely a surreal moment. I mean, when we started, the three of us, probably around November 2021, I think it was, or October 2021. And at that point, we had a prototype that myself and the other technical co-founder, Ev, had put together. And Ross had the same idea as us, so we decided, the three of us, to go in together. And I think Ross said something like, we're going to need to raise about 5 million. And I was like, what on earth are we going to do with 5 million? That's insane. And why would anyone give that to us? It just seemed like this just crazy dream. But Ev and I just carried on chipping away at the prototype, and Ross went off to do the fundraising. And then he came back, he's like, all right, so I've secured us 10. And my jaw just dropped to the floor. I was like, well, like, based on what? At this point, I was saying to Ev yesterday, I'd love to dig out that first prototype that we had, because it was pretty basic. But I think it was a combination of the team and probably going back to that experience that I was saying earlier, like we'd all been in tech for a very long time and recognized this problem, and possibly having two technical co-founders would have helped with that. And Ross is just a gold pitcher. Like he's...
Well, ex-Atlassian, ex-Shopify, ex-Campaign Monitor. He's no slouch.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure he's just an absolute gun in the pitching room. So it was definitely surreal to me, because I hate to say, but I'm sure it wasn't, because he was doing most of the conversations, but it felt easy. Like we didn't, and maybe because Ev and I kind of came in towards the end for more the due diligence, like to make sure that we weren't just insane, which somehow we slid under the radar there.
That can be profitable too.
Yeah. And so that was quite surreal. The next surreal thing was, I don't think I'd fully gathered that it just drops into your bank account. Well, we had a business bank account, but my main bank, like personal bank and business bank, were with the same provider. So I could just suddenly see it on my mobile, like there's like 10.6 million there next to my current bank balance of like $5. And I have this feature
not transfer.
that allows you to hide from home screen, like instantly just do that. Because it was just, it was this terrifying moment. I was out for sushi with the wife and kids at the moment, and I had to just go outside and take a moment, because it just didn't even seem real. I mean, you can't really fathom it.
Bring it home.
So building a startup, it's fast-paced, but really at the end of the day, it's a marathon. What do you do to make sure that you're at the top of your game for the long haul?
So I'm quite a fan of routine. So I gym, well, you may not know it to look at me, but 6 till 7 every morning I get up, I go to the gym. I'm fortunate that I have a founder that comes with me. He's actually in a different space. He's in retail, but it gives us a chance to kind of chat and decompress in the morning. And actually being in different spaces is probably quite helpful. So we do have overlapping problems. It kind of sets me up for the day. I can do a bit of a brain dump before anything then starts. I then play with the kids, get them ready for school, do breakfast, that kind of morning routine. I feel like that helps to ground me before they go off to school. And then I've recently started doing day theming. So I've been digging more into probably like the last 3 or 4 weeks sort of into personal brand. And we haven't done anything historically in terms of founder-led sales. It's mostly just been, or founder-led marketing. It's been mostly kind of inbound stuff. So I'm trying to make more of an effort there and learn more about those skills, because as an engineer, they don't come naturally to me. And so I've started theming my days, because it used to be, I'd say I'll do a couple of hours of marketing and then some coding, and inevitably the marketing gets pushed because coding is my happy place. I'm like, no, right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is marketing, branding, that kind of stuff. And then Tuesday, Thursday is deep coding. I found that's really helped, because my brain is no longer jumping between 50 different topics at any one time. So yeah, it kind of prepares you more for that marathon, I suppose, if you can feel like you're not doing 1,000 tiny little sprints all on the same day.
Quick finish. Best song in the world is?
Deftones, Be Quiet and Drive.
Excellent. Dave Berner, thanks for joining us from Kinde.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with Murray Hertz from UTS Startups. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Startup 360 with Simon and Magella, and we're joined by Murray Hertz of UTS Startups fame, Startup Muster fame, so much fame. It's great to have a famous person in here, Murray. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Startup royalty.
Yeah, startup royalty. Exactly.
Terrible
Lord Murray
claim.
of Herps.
Terrible claim to fame.
Look, for
I'm
anyone,
young, there's still time. I can do other things.
is there anyone who, for anyone who is listening or watching and is unfamiliar with the Murray Hertz story, just give us the elevator pitch.
I dropped out of high school because I was playing around with software, and I thought, make enough money from that I don't need this high school stuff or university stuff. If my kids do that, you're not allowed to do that. Because it doesn't give you many options. That ended up being a software company called AdMuncher. It went for 14 years, went quite well towards the end, 100 million users at the peak. But it was always just me sitting here by myself in Sydney, and no other partners in Australia. Everyone I worked with was overseas. And then one day I walked into Fishburners, and there were like 30 people at the time up on the top level back when I was just starting out, and they were all doing software things. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And the kind of 12, 14 years, whatever since, has been Fishburners and other incubatory things, including currently 6 years at UTS running the UTS Startups program, so that more people get to do that kind of thing.
Are you ready to be 10x'd?
Yes.
Rapid fire question.
Where you go?
Alrighty. So you've worn pretty much every hat in the ecosystem. You're a founder, a builder, an operator, an educator. Which is your favorite and why?
I don't want to be an educator to anyone, and I'd be suspicious of people that want to be educators. I like putting people in a room that know what they're doing and connecting them to each other. That person who is similar to you in some meaningful way and can tell you, I did this thing in this circumstance and got this result, so that other people have a chance to do that thing as well. That's what I like the most.
I'm going to pick up on that for just a second, because I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot. So I'm always looking for educators so I can learn. Frame that for me. How do you think about that?
Journalists know the most. They are the most dangerous people and productive people in the startup landscape. Are the people that
know
document.
a little bit, and the rest is bluff, I can tell you that.
No, but you know the stories from every single person of note. Like, that is a wonderful position to be in. You are being the educators now in sharing this with everyone else. There is a place for education, and obviously universities do that well, and other education sources. But there is also the education part of things, and then the entrepreneurial part of things, where for me, entrepreneurship is exploitation of privilege. That privilege can be what you know, or the contacts you have, or the enthusiasm you have, or something else. Whatever that thing is that allows you to capture value from something. If we can share privilege between people and give people that are without privilege more privilege, And then they have a reason to be educated after that, of particularly in entrepreneurship, to know, okay, I'm doing this thing, I'd love to know how to do this part, and then layer on things on top of that. That is a wonderful educational experience, I think.
What is one belief that you held when you've started your startup journey that you've just completely changed your mind on today?
Ooh. I think a lot of people have changed this belief, which is 10 years ago, people walked into places like Fish Burners and they had a tech co-founder and a marketing person and design person, and they needed to fund those people. And so they walked around to wherever they could get funding, and the VCs would say, okay, you need to be a massive billion-dollar company for us to fund this kind of risk profile. And that manufactured startup after startup. And that was a kind of core belief that people had, that I need to be ambitious and very risky to get funding to fund the kind of tech and things that I need to get this off the ground. Now, people walking by themselves and they're using AI everything and they're not going after VC. There is a kind of core belief in startups that I think is changing a lot at the moment. Definitely for myself, and I think for the whole ecosystem. It's a little bit scary.
Whoa.
Game's changing.
All right, I'm going to Dorothy Dixer this one. Startup muster. Why
Yes.
is it important?
You need good data for good decisions. And there are people like the ABS that do really good data collection and preparation of things. And they will do that when they're funded to do it for small amounts of data. And then there's these hundreds of other organizations that need certain things answered that Startup Muster is quite good for. So all the people that are having, like if you're running an incubator or something and you're saying, I want to understand how many people are doing this kind of thing in this area, or what kind of challenges they're facing, or what they want from this, that is what Startup Muster answers. It's a decently large survey, but it stops 50 other surveys from taking part and then, or not working at all. So it answers all of those questions.
So I keep giving a quick plug just to get everyone involved, because I said earlier in the show, 18th of August, they've got to respond by. Tell them why to get on it.
This is the thing, like you could go into some consultation with people and tell them what you think, or you could sit on whatever social media network you like and complain
Yelling on
about things.
LinkedIn.
I do that too. Or you put your kind of complaints and thoughts into this, and then that goes into all these other different parts of government and different people supporting startups. So closes August 18th. Just grab a coffee, sit down, answer it, and you'll see all these interesting kind of feedback options that show you how you fit in compared to other people as well. It's worth the time.
Let's pretend I'm a new founder and I have a range of different options to go to. Why would I choose a university incubator over maybe a different one, like your general support?
I think that definitely different kinds of incubators appeal to different kinds of people. And I would say we are no more appealing than any other incubator around the place. So I'd say check them all out. Definitely check out Fish Burners as well. Fish Burners is, I think, the best at doing this, definitely in Australia, if not the world, with an incredible legacy behind it as well. In a university environment, you get a little bit more research going on, so access to researchers, all the students that are coming through could be kind of interesting. We had 950 UTS students in the startups that we support last year through internships and in-subject projects. And it's kind of a different environment, but we end up sending a lot of people after they are incubated with us into Fish Burners or Stone and Chalk and other places as well. So I think that ecosystem is working pretty well.
My question in all the different things you've done is, what was the sliding door moment in your experiences where you wish you'd gone through the other one?
Oh, you can't do this, because
Okay.
the answer is always like buy more Bitcoin or buy a lotto ticket with these numbers, and then like nothing ever really matters.
Yeah.
So like I think I've made almost always the best choice, because I'm sitting here now, and I've got a wife that kind of likes me and kids that kind of like me as well, and doing work that I love every day. So I would not change a thing.
There you go. That's a happy man.
That's great. Content.
I'm very lucky, man.
Yep.
What do you feel is the most important thing a founder should do to ensure that their business is successful?
The most important thing. I'll steal Pete Davidson's advice, which is find someone that shares your circumstances. that has done what you're trying to do, figure out how they did it, and then copy them quickly and do it better, but iterating on what they did. And anything else becomes kind of more generalized advice than that person can give or that you can get from that person. It also, I like the parts of that tend to be the things that they don't write down or post about. The real inside story of I met this person or used this data set or whatever else that actually enabled them, which you only tend to get from the actual person.
I want to ask you about government, because for a long time government did support Startup Muster. I know you've been out on your own with private sector support for this year and last year. There's a lot of debate going on, especially in New South Wales, but it's also been happening in Victoria in the last few weeks as well. What would you say to government if you could lock them all in the room and talk about the startup ecosystem and hopefully inspire them to go out and act?
I wouldn't want to be government because there's such a long list of things that need funding and interventions that are above the thing that could be, which is startups. So, education should be free. There should be more support for people that are low SES or missing out on education or whatever else. Like there's so many things that need addressing, and there is a preceding problem that we don't have the economy and the tax structure to support the spending that you would like to see happening. They can choose to ignore that and prioritize the kind of investments that drive productivity. So that could be a thing, but I understand why they might not, or be able to explain why they don't at the moment. What I would say to that though is we're going to keep having that problem until something changes. So the fact that we don't have the money to invest will continue to be the problem until someone says, okay, we're going to think about the not urgent thing today, but the potential thing that will solve problems in the future rather than the immediate problems that we keep patching up. So if we want, like no one can afford their houses. The jobs that people find aren't paying what they need to pay. People need to be, also you look at student preferences. 5 years ago in UTS, 30% of students wanted to do something entrepreneurial. It's now 70% of incoming students that say, I want to do something entrepreneurial instead of work for someone else.
My gosh.
In 6 years. So if I was in government and I cared about younger voters, maybe that would be something to think about. Also, as I said, none of those people can afford the houses that they're going for or the kind of lives that they're going to have, or the graduate positions that they used to go into are not what they used to be. We need startups for the reason that we need productivity uplift. The largest kind of impact of a startup is not the jobs or the exports or anything else. It is a productivity uplift it creates through competitive pressure, learning spillovers, and provision of new services to large companies. We need startups. We need something happening in Australia that drives that productivity uplift that is happening in these incubators, in Fishburners and places like it. And it is not, in the scheme of things, a large amount of money for the impact that that can have. Sydney Startup Hub originally like 35 mil for tens of thousands of people to start companies and do really interesting things that drive that kind of productivity uplift. If there's an economist watching, I'm telling them things they already know, but it's whether that message gets through at the right level and if the time frame that people care about is that time frame of, okay, do we want New South Wales to be amazing in 5-10 years from now? The choices they make now will decide that.
If I see Marrickville Golf Club and Albays walking around it on the weekend, I'm going to say, hey, you've got to get Muzz along to the productivity sort of summit that they're having in a couple of weeks.
Do we know anyone that's going to that?
Isn't Scott Farquhar going from Tech Council?
Okay. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yep. All right. Last one for you.
Yeah, I want to talk about the future. What do you think the startup ecosystem will look like in 2040?
Oh, geez Louise. I don't think my kids will have jobs. They're like 6 and 7 at the moment. I think they'll choose to work if they want to, but I don't think the requirement will be there in the same way it is today. So there's that.
Is that because Dad's a billionaire?
No, that is that is just like how productive every single person is going to be from their computers, and whether we do that here or other people around the world are doing it, that kind of technological surplus moment is going to be interesting. And how we deal with that is going to be interesting. So in 40 years, I'm not sure the economy is going to be working the same way. In 2030, I think is almost equally hard to predict. My background's in browsers and kind of browser technology. I love what's happening in browser automation at the moment. The visual models and the cost of them for full browser automation is now getting really good in the benchmarks that is doing against humans and getting like affordable. So you can say, put that thing on eBay and it will go through the process and do all that. Or you can say, create this e-commerce website and it'll do most of that stuff for you. What is that going to do to entrepreneurship, where the kind of entry-level things become more and more taken out by AI and the bar to entry becomes higher and higher? Are you going to need more kind of technology or other differentiation or privilege to do something in startups in a couple of years' time when AI is taking all the entry-level things? Or do we get better at using AI and have some kind of interesting capability in Australia as early adopters where we are the people doing that versus other people around the world? Or are we using the kind of highest per capita savings in the world to do something that is using that as an enabler for us to capture those opportunities first, or a mining tax or something else that like we can do that other people can't? Or we just watch everyone else do it and we just sit back and become even more so consumers of this technology. So it could go either way.
Guess we'll find out.
To be continued. 2030, we'll do 2030.
2040, 2030.
Yeah, okay.
All to be computed. All of the above, technically.
Yep.
Yeah.
How are you feeling so far? You've almost made it. Last question coming up. You
Feel
good?
I was expecting much worse. This is very polite.
There's
questions.
still time.
We can re-record this with the much worse version.
Okay.
Family loves you, love your job. But if you could do anything in the world, crazy, fun, adventure, with your tribe, what would it be? Putting everything else aside, what would you go and do?
Honestly, my happy place is sitting on a weekend working on something. There's some little framework or AI tool or something else with other people in the room working on stuff as well. And this churning through that, getting something online and looking at it going, oh, look at this cool thing that you've made. That's my happy place. And there's nothing stopping me from doing that than other commitments that, are more important and more interesting as well.
So you're going to make the kids sit there and code as well?
They're trying already. They got a long way to go, but I'm going to get them there, and hopefully we can do that together before long.
And then hopefully Dad will take them to Ibiza for the weekend.
We live in Australia. We live in Sydney. This is the most beautiful, safe, enjoyable place in the world to live and to run a startup. It is the second most expensive place in the world to run a startup as well. But where else would you want to be if you're going to do something risky with potentially a big reward, surrounded by smart people, the world's best educational institutions, some of them, and all these kind of smart people that if you can afford to live in Sydney, you're probably working quite hard and doing reasonably well. This is underappreciated as a place, and you can see out the window the Harbour Bridge and all this wonderful stuff. No, I don't want to go to anywhere else. I want to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here, Murray Herbst. Thanks for joining us from UTS Startups, and thanks for joining us on 10X. And Startup Master, get your answers in now.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week. Any plans for the weekend?
No.
No? Still packing up fishies?
Yeah, it's going to be all the trucks and stuff coming very soon. So,
all right.
To be shared in the future.
Well, enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you next Friday.
Looking forward to it. See you
All right.
then.
This show is a private media production produced and edited by the fabulous Matt Jackson, fan of the amazing Sharkies, who had a bloody good win on the weekend. Well done, Matt. That's why he sits there grinning in the corner for the entire show, because his Sharkies are doing well. Thanks to Ella Walsh, to James Vass, and to Vanta for their support. Subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, and of course you can watch it on YouTube if you're listening. Don't forget to read startupdaily.net for all the ANZ tech news for free. See you next week. Bye for now.